Hey guys, so Reveals and Stuff number 38 has officially been announced in the news, and we will be getting a new character revealed on Tuesday at the normal time. This should be the final part of the Z Movies celebration, so it'll be interesting to see where they want to head after this. We are about to head into Daima. I will probably not talk about that too much in this video. I might make a separate video talking about Daima stuff. But remember, guys, Daima releases less than a month from now. And I think it is at least conceivable that Legends could end up releasing some Daima stuff as early as next month. So it's possible they want to jump into Daima. It's possible they may want to save that for later. I'm not sure, but that's at least on the table, I would say. But for this Reveals and Stuff, let's go ahead and read what they say here. So Reveals and Stuff number 38 is coming. Get ready for the latest info about part 3 of the ongoing sagas from the movie Z campaign. What will the third featured movie be? Tune in to find out. Plus, upcoming new character info will be revealed as well. Get ready for another can't miss show. And then just so that you guys can see, it is the same time as, this is Japan time, obviously, because it's configured to my time zone, but 11 p.m. Japan time on the 17th, which is Tuesday night, which is normal time. Interesting that they say the third featured movie. I assume that's just because of the other two movies that are associated with the summonable characters. So I do have all the Dragon Ball Z movies pulled up here. So the first movie they represented in terms of summonable character is Broly's Second Coming, of course, because the LF Broly is from Second Coming. The second featured movie was Dead Zone, the Mega Rising banner featuring Garlic Jr. and Goku and Piccolo. So I guess that's what they're considering to be the quote-unquote featured movies. But I would say that at this point, we actually do have representation for a lot of the Z movies. Dead Zone, we just talked about. World's Strongest, we have nothing. Tree of Might, we have the purple Zenkai Turles' unique equipment. Lord Slug, we have nothing. Cooler's Revenge and The Return of Cooler both are not represented at all in the celebration. Very interesting. Same thing with Super Android 13. Nothing from that movie either. Movie 8, the first Broly movie, we have the Ultra Broly's Platinum equipment that came out, so that is kind of represented. BoJack Unbound, we have the free BoJack. And then the current co-op season, as well as the current Full Power Battle event, both are BoJack movie themed, so actually quite a bit of BoJack themed stuff here. Talked about this. Bio Broly, we have nothing. Now, before we even get into talking about what I think the possibilities are for this reveal, I will just straight up tell you guys this. A hypothetical Goten and Trunks from the Bio Broly movie is probably the ultimate nightmare scenario. I would take Dr. Wheelo over Goten and Trunks from the Bio. I would take Slug, LF Lord Slug over this. Goten and Trunks from the Bio, actually the worst possible pick right now. Please do not do that. Fusion Reborn, we have nothing, right? I believe we actually have nothing from Fusion Reborn. Yeah, nothing. I'm trying to think. I mean, they could end up giving us a platinum equipment for Ultra Super Gogeta, which would be really cool. I actually did a video on him that should be coming out tomorrow, but yeah, that could be something they do, but we haven't had anything from this movie yet. Wrath of the Dragon, of course, we have the Zenkai for LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the Dragon Fist Goku. And they actually are not counting, if you guys go back to the announcement of the campaign, the first reveal and stuff for Broly, they actually are not counting Battle of Gods or Resurrection F as Z movies for the celebration. So I'm not even going to count these. So I would say about half of the movies have representation in some way on this list here. But they do specifically mention third featured movie, so we will see what they do. I have the list of characters here pulled up in terms of all the sagas from the movies characters that exist. So this is where we get to talk about like which characters would I personally want to see and which characters do I think are the most likely to come out here. I guess we can start by talking about the type of character. I think it's going to be one of two, obviously LF or Ultra. There's no chance they do two back-to-back Mega Risings. So I would say I would probably put the chances of an Ultra character higher than an LF character because we've already had an LF character in this celebration. And we actually kind of, I don't know if I want to say we're due for an Ultra character, but this slot kind of does fall in line with where we would see an Ultra character, right? The last Ultra character was Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. He released around 2 months ago. I would say every 2 months-ish, every 2.5 months-ish is when we typically see Ultra characters. So would not surprise me at all if this release was an Ultra character. However, we have seen celebrations in the past where they've released 2 LFs instead of 1 LF and 1 Ultra, etc. Going back to January of this year, the GT celebration, the episode, the Saga campaign for GT, we did actually see Spirit Bomb Goku come out in the middle of the month. And then we saw at the end of the month just Super 17, so 2 LF characters. I think it's completely possible that they do the same thing with this celebration. Instead of us getting an Ultra character, they could just give us a second LF character. But I would probably say it's more along the lines of like 60-40, so 60% chance we get an Ultra, 40% chance we get an LF. But I've seen a lot of people just assuming that we're going to get an Ultra. I would not just assume that. I would say that there is a pretty solid chance they could just drop an LF here. And maybe at the end of this month, we could see an Ultra in between this celebration and the next celebration, because this celebration, keep in mind, is going to be basically concluding in the middle of the month, right? I would imagine this is the last release of this campaign, this part 3. And then the end of this month could be just like sort of like a filler character drop, but the filler character drop doesn't need to be associated with anything, and they could just be an Ultra drop, right? That's completely possible. So I could get into a pretty big discussion here talking about management of the game and, you know, how the meta has been, I guess, managed over the past few years. I would say there is like a cutoff or a distinction between pre-Legends Fest 2021 and post-Legends Fest 2021. There's basically 2 eras to this game, right, throughout its history. I would say that there is a massive difference between pre-Legends Fest 2021 Dragon Ball Legends and, you know, Legends Fest 2021 and beyond Dragon Ball Legends. That was really when the game started to improve massively. And I would really say, and this might surprise people that I would say this, and this also might be a fairly unpopular opinion, I'm not sure. I would say that they have actually done a pretty relatively good job at managing the game and managing the meta and development of the meta and character releases and character kits and abilities and mechanics since Legends Fest 2021. So since that point, since November of 2021 up until now, so it's been almost 3 years. This past 3 years of this game have been managed, I would say, relatively well. There, of course, have been times where there have been very, very bad periods, you know, whether or not the meta was just in a bad state, which certainly has been. I would say that Legends Fest 2020... Yeah, it was Legends Fest 2023, Part 3, where Ultra UI Goku dropped. I would say that meta is in contention for a worst meta of all time. Like, it was not a very fun time to be playing the game. But I would still say that, you know, within those 3 years, we've only seen a handful of times where the meta hasn't been great. That's just, you know, a claim I'll make. And you can, you know, point out different times where the meta hasn't been that great. And I mean, I can certainly do the same thing. But generally speaking, I think it has been pretty good. And a way that they've managed to do this and keep this up is by putting characters in check that need to be put in check, right? You compare the 2 eras of the game. Pre-Legends Fest 2021, we had characters like Zenkai Red Gohan, who were running around for literally 10 months uncontested. And that created a terrible environment in this game. Nowadays, we get characters like Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, who comes out, he's a monster, easily best character in the game. But then, you know, 2.5 months after his release, maybe 3 months after his release, we get a hard counter for him and things sort of balance themselves out. We get monster releases like Ultra Vegito Blue, same thing. 2-3 months later, we get hard counters to him and the game sort of balances itself out. Ultra UI Goku was a little bit fast, I think, actually, as much as I really didn't like that meta, the yellow Ultra UI Saiyan Goku. He came out, introduced a really, really bad meta, and I'm not sure whether or not they sped up the release of Super 17 or what they did with that, but they clearly created a monster in Super 17, whether or not that was a direct response to Ultra UI Goku or not. I think it probably was. They saw a need for him, and he sort of, again, put everything in check. So we're in that same spot right now, I would argue, with Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta has now released 2 months ago, and you guys have heard me say this constantly. After a character is classified as being meta dominant or meta defining for 2 months, at that point, it is time to introduce a hard counter to that character. So I am expecting, and I hope, that we do get a character that is able to hard counter Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Now, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying we need a character to eclipse him. We don't need a character to power creep Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I just think we need an option to put him in check, right? That doesn't mean they need to be better than him strictly. They just need to be, a character that is a favorable matchup against him to where people actually need to not just slam him on every single team and then that's the whole game, right? Because that's typically what the game is right now. Either you're running Majin Buu Saga or you're running some team with Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on it. That's the game right now. And that's, not uncommon whenever we get these gigantic Ultra Anniversary or Legends Fest characters. They run the game for a few months and then they get kicked out because they don't get kicked out. They get countered and things sort of, again, I'm going to use the same wording, balance themselves out. So I'm really hoping this release is some kind of yellow character, and I think the best way to probably counter Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is have some kind of lock, or if they really wanted to go down the path of having some kind of unique gauge nullification or something like that. I personally am not in favor of that because it just affects too much with the game, and there's too many characters that rely heavily on their unique gauge, and I don't really think that mechanic needs to exist, but some locking ability where, you lock Gogeta in and you can kill him with like a super like crazy yellow or a yellow-blue card or something like that. I don't know. Some counter to Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta that they could release, I think would really help the game a lot. And then in terms of the actual management of characters, I think is also something that they've done a pretty good job at, right? There's never really been a multiple month period where they just drop like stinker release after stinker release like for a long time. And what I mean by that is characters that are just unhype for long periods of time. I mean, I can just pull up the main character list here and we can go through this, but because this is actually ordered, besides Ultras, this list is actually ordered in release order. So if we just go back to the beginning of the year here, I mean, we have Ultras, what is this? Universal Spirit Bomb GT Goku, I would say is actually a pretty surprising release for just a random post Legends Fest middle of the month release for January. LS Super 17, Super Vegeta. I would say Super Baby 2 is probably a little bit less of a hype character, right? Because we got Vegeta, and then after Vegeta technically was Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. They sort of seesaw back and forth between like hype release, non-hype release, hype release, non-hype release. Super Baby 2, I would say, is kind of not like garbage level unhype, but he's not considered to be one of the more hype releases. That's just unfortunately, Baby is like a very important villain, I would argue, and this Baby is actually a character that I was rooting for to get a major release for a long time, so I'm glad he has one, but he is certainly not considered to be one of the more popular characters. Then after this, we got Golden Frieza, Ultra Golden Frieza. Of course, he was really, really good and popular. Then we had Nappa and Vegeta from the Saiyan Saga. Well, before that, we actually got these two. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, like stinker releases, is this. And then this leads into Nappa and Vegeta. I would say that this is this period right here was probably one of the lower points for this game in terms of, again, everything I'm talking about is post 2021 Legends Fest, because everything before that was just the Dark Ages. I would classify that as. But this Saiyan Saga celebration was really bad. And I remember going into the anniversary, and I understand that they need to, conserve resources for the anniversary, and they need to make sure they allocate their development time accordingly to make sure the anniversary is as important as it is, because it is the most important celebration of the year for them. But this Saiyan Saga celebration garnered zero momentum for them to use to ride into the anniversary. I mean, it was really, really bad. This kind of reminded me of the Dragon Ball campaign last year. And I am getting extremely similar feelings from this campaign right now, which is very strange considering that I would say, where is he? This guy. This is it. I would classify Legendary Super Saiyan Broly as a hype release. Z Broly as a character is one of the most hype characters you could possibly drop. Like, he is the face. He's one of the faces of the series. Z Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Right, you go back to like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 Days, you go back to Budokai Days, like every single game had an iteration of Z Broly because he was that popular. I don't know how I want to say this. I mean, I'm just going to say this. I'm gonna say this very directly, I guess. They completely screwed this character up. I think this guy needed to be way better, and I think that actually does have a lot to do with people's interest in the game. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, again, you go back to the Dragon Ball campaign, you go back to the Saiyan Saga celebration before the 6th anniversary. These characters, although they're extremely unhype, they could have been not as unhype if they just made them very good. I think Yamcha was really good, but Goku was horrible. I mean, this is the worst release of the year. Not close. There is not a single summonable character release this year that is even remotely touching this Goku. He is one of the worst releases of all time, I'll say. I'm not sure if he's number one worst of all time, because we've had some pretty bad, again, pre-Legends Fest 2021, just a different game entirely almost. But this guy was really bad. Vegeta and Nappa were good, but this is not a character that was really like carrying you. They were just kind of a third, they were a third option for your teams, essentially, is what this character is, which is not bad. I think they're still valuable because of that, but going into an anniversary, this is the character you drop? Yeah. And then, again, this is the Z celebration. We get this Broly, the Z movie celebration. This Broly drops with Green Videl, who's also kind of just like, well, whatever, sure. I think the biggest point that they messed up with was this Broly being, I don't know, 60% as good as he should have been on release, which is not good, right? I would put this Broly, in the same breath as this character, Red Super Vegeta. I would. I think they're probably similar in terms of their effectiveness on release. I think I would take God Goku over this Broly. I would, and that's not going to make a lot of sense to people, and I think people are going to get upset for me saying this, but that's just that's my legitimate opinion. I think Broly here is less effective than God Goku is. And then we get the part 2 banners with Goku and Piccolo and Garlic Jr. And as much as I like both of those characters, I think these characters are fun. I like Goku and Piccolo. I think they work pretty well. They're not meta defining. They don't really bring anything to the table on any of their teams that you're really going to go out of your way to try and obtain them. And then I would say similar to Garlic Jr. too, because like, what team are you using Garlic Jr. on to where you can't get the same or better effects from other characters that are on his teams? Regen, no. Powerful opponent, no. Movies, no. So he's a nice character, but he's not competing with the best characters. These guys are a nice character. They're not competing with the best characters. And so this campaign, with it being as long as it's been, we started with Broly, then we got like Zenkai Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who also didn't really accomplish anything. We move into Goku and Piccolo and Garlic Jr., who unfortunately I would argue also didn't accomplish anything. Free-to-play Bojack, who's terrible. And then we just got the red Tapion Zenkai. We're talking like, since Omega released up until now, the most relevant character we've gotten is the platinum equipment for Ultra Broly. That's just not good enough. And I think that's the main contributor to why interest in this game is at, I would say, a bottom 3 I've ever seen. The interest in this game is probably, this is one of the bottom 3 periods I've ever seen in terms of interest in the game. It is very bad, very, very bad. And I think the characters, sure, eventually you're going to have, non-hype characters. Like I said, it kind of goes like a seesaw. You have a hype release, you have a non-hype release. You have a hype release, you have a non-hype release. You have a hype release and a hype release, and then you go back to a non. Like it sort of ebbs and flows in that way. But you got to make some characters relevant. This guy's irrelevant. These guys are irrelevant. Free-to-play Bojack irrelevant. Zenkai Dragon Fist irrelevant. Zenkai Tapion irrelevant. Like, can we make characters good? Is that possible? So I'm really hinging a lot on this next release, and for that reason, I'm also hoping the next release is going to be somebody that is going to garner a lot of attention and hype from the community. So let's go through these movies, and I can give some feedback on who I would want to see potentially representing each of the movies that haven't been represented yet. I'm going to assume that, Tree of Might, we already got the unique equipment for Purple Turles. I'm just going to cross out. I mean, it's possible we can get like an LF Turles or something like that, but I'm just not going to consider that. So we'll start with World's Strongest. This is actually a movie that I would really, really like to see a Kaioken Goku from. I don't think I've seen any game, Dragon Ball Heroes, Dokkan, Legends, any other game. Sparking Zero has not done this, I don't think, at least from what I've seen. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 doesn't even have this. A Kaioken Goku from this movie. And if you go back and watch the scene of Goku fighting Dr. Wheelo / Dr. Cochin's minions, that's like an incredible fight. And a lot of the animations from that fight would work really well for a Kaioken Goku. They could give us an LF animation where, what is it? It's Goku, Krillin, and Roshi doing a trio Kamehameha against Dr. Wheelo at the end. Goku does the Spirit Bomb in the movie. And I think they probably wouldn't be able to give us Dr. Wheelo because he's probably considered to be a giant character. So what they could do is they could give us a brainwashed Piccolo from this movie. Remember, Dr. Cochin kind of brainwashes Piccolo in that movie, and he sort of fights for Dr. Cochin. We could get a brainwashed Piccolo as a 1% sparking, and then potentially he could have like a death AoE attack from Dr. Wheelo just to get him in the game. That could be cool. But a Kaioken Goku from this movie as an elf, I think, could work pretty well. Lord Slug. This is something I've seen people ask for a long time, is the false Super Saiyan Goku. I think what they would do with that is they probably wouldn't just make the Goku a false Super Saiyan Goku, because that's a very weird form. It doesn't have an official name. That false Super Saiyan form was kind of just Toei's vision of what a Super Saiyan was before Super Saiyan actually debuted in the show, because like this movie was made before the Frieza saga like finished. And so this is literally like the actual name of the movie, Super Saiyan Son Goku. That false Super Saiyan form is basically Toei's interpretation of what Super Saiyan was. So there is probably a hesitation there from the developers in terms of how they want to treat that form. So what I think they would probably do with this is they could either make the Goku a base Goku or a Kaioken Goku, and maybe like in his ultimate animation or whatever, they could just have him transform into the false Super Saiyan form, not have to explain what it is, and then they just have it be in the animation. Is probably what I can see from that. That'd be a cool idea. We also don't have Lord Slug with his armor on, because the only Lord Slug we have is the blue one, and he doesn't have his armor. So that could be something to get as well. These are the big ones for me. Cooler's Revenge and The Return of Cooler. We don't have any representation for either movie here. So obviously when it comes to Cooler's Revenge, this is a very easy one. They just give us an LF Super Saiyan Goku or an Ultra Super Saiyan Goku from this movie, and then they could give us a either unique equipment for LF Red Cooler, or they could just go ahead and Zenkai that guy at this point. That could be a really good, sort of final part to this celebration if they want to go out that way. And then the Metal Cooler movie as well. I mean, there's two options they could go with for the Metal Cooler movie. At this point, I would probably just prefer that they do a tag Goku and Vegeta, Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta from the Metal Cooler movie if they're going to get this representation here, because to me, that would garner the most hype from most people. And that's really what I'm most concerned with at this point. The game being at such a low level right now. I am most interested in just seeing the game release what would attract the most hype, and that's what I think would attract the most hype is a tag Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta. As much as I love Cooler, as much as I love LOE, an LF or Ultra Cooler right now, I think they got to go with like Goku, just any Goku. I think we're at that point right now where we just need to hit emergency glass, for Goku is what we're at here. But they certainly could do an Ultra Metal Cooler, an LF Metal Cooler that has a revive or something like that. I've seen a lot of people talk about this, but there's so much they can do with this movie. The last character we've gotten to represent the Metal Cooler movie was Blue Free Metal Cooler, and then before that, I think it was just Green Metal Cooler, which is just ages ago at this point. Android 13, I think it's just a very clear one. LF or Ultra Spirit Bomb absorbed Goku for that. I mean, that's it. Don't expect any kind of LF or Ultra Android 13. That would be a gut punch if they released that right now to me. We already got representation for this. We already got representation for this. Got this one already. I talked about this already earlier, but there is nothing from this movie that I would like to see. I don't want to see Bio Broly. I don't want to see Trunks and Goten. Like, what else is there? 18? Krillin? No, I'm good on Bio Broly. Fusion Reborn, I think we could definitely see a Super Saiyan 3 Goku from his fight against Fat Janemba, and also just, the Super Janemba. That would be a really cool character. We don't have that in the game at all. That's kind of crazy to me. We don't have representation for Super Saiyan 3 Goku from Fusion Reborn at all. If they wanted to give us an Ultra or an LF of the Super Saiyan 3 Goku from that movie, I'd be completely down for that. It's kind of crazy to me how we haven't gotten a single iteration of that Goku. Yeah, because we don't have the twin Dragon Fist attack in Legends. That doesn't exist in the game. If it was up to me, it would feel kind of strange to have the first Ultra Super Saiyan 3 Goku be from this movie. So I think if they were going to go for a release of Super Saiyan 3 Goku from Fusion Reborn, I would probably more expect them to do an LF, and then his LF could be the twin Dragon Fists. But, I would be okay with that. And then Wrath of the Dragon, I mean, I would almost say certainly nothing from this movie is going to be released unless they redo Dragon Fist, which I highly doubt they would do. Because we know they can't do Herudegarn because he's a giant character. What would they do? Hoi? An LF Ultra Hoi. Yeah, that's what we're getting here. So at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to a lot of different versions of like Super Saiyan Goku and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I think from what I've seen, and I have a lot of experience playing this game, covering this game. I have like 4,000 videos of this game on my channel. I think when it comes to a meta-dominant character like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, like Golden Frieza, like all these honestly, almost every single Ultra character, with the exception of very few, were dominant for a few months after release. When it comes to the 2-month mark, after a character is completely dominating the meta, it is time to introduce a targeted counter towards them. We saw that with Gohan. We saw that with this guy, but it was a little quick. We saw that with Vegito. We saw that with Gogeta. We saw it with Super Vegito, but that was way too fast. I don't think they needed to do that fast against this guy. That is the way to avoid having periods like we are having right now, where it is just unbearably dead. This is, again, I will reiterate, I would say this is a top 3 like most disinteresting period in this game. So I'm really hoping this next release nails stuff, because they give us a dead release here and the game is just sliding further and further down into the dumps. So we really need to redeem ourselves here with this. Don't give us a Broly, that doesn't do anything. Don't give us a Piccolo and Goku and Garlic Jr. that are like, decent Mega Rising characters, but at the end of the day aren't really influencing anything. Give us something that is actually going to impact the game, like Omega Shenron. And I think we'll be okay. So let me know what you guys think down below. This went a little bit longer than I envisioned, but I could make a much longer video talking about the management of this game and sort of like how they've designated the character releases in meta and how they've developed the meta on their end. Again, I will reiterate, starting from Legends Fest 2021, they have done a very good job at this, I would say. With a few exceptions, of course, there's always going to be some hiccups throughout the years. It's not going to be impeccable, but for the most part, I feel like that they've done a pretty good job. But let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.